Staff Sergeant Ryan Gray, United States Marine Corps, Iraq. Staff Sergeant Gray is one of the many Iraq veterans I've interviewed for my project. It's been 20 years since I interviewed my first World War II veteran, and about 10 years into my work, actually about 6 or 7 years into my work, I began meeting veterans of Iraq, Afghanistan, the Gulf War, and I started collecting their stories, but it hasn't been till recently that I really feel led to share these stories. My priority obviously was World War II, Korea, because the veterans were dying off. Vietnam veterans are following suit, and there's still a lot of them around that I'm going to interview this year. But I've been holding these stories kind of in reserve, and it's time, folks, it's time. I know a lot of you like the Vietnam stories and some of the other stories I've done, but I'm going to ask you for a favor. I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I'm going to ask you to watch Ryan Gray's story and let me know what you think, because he was fresh off the battlefield. These Marines were at Camp Pendleton. I interviewed him April 27, 2007. I was invited by the commanding general at that time, Rick Zilmer, and I interviewed 17 men and women who were serving in Iraq. And they were just off the battlefield, fresh off the battlefield. Can you imagine being transported back to 1943 and meeting World War II soldiers, Marines, Airmen, Navy, Coast Guard, just fresh off the battlefields? That would have been an amazing story. Or Korea, you know, 1950-51, the Chosin Reservoir and the jungles of Vietnam, interviewing Vietnam vets that were just fresh off the battlefield. Ryan went back for another deployment. He deployed 5 times in 7 years, and I'm sure it was tough on the family. We need to do a story about the families, how hard it is on them, how they're sacrificing and they're serving their country, going over to war. But Ryan is a tremendous man. He, at first, I think he didn't really want to talk, but he opened up, and I don't know, I provide a non-threatening environment where these veterans open up and they talk to me, and they share things with me they never shared before with their family members. And it's not typical for a combat veteran to talk to a civilian, but Ryan opened up to me. You're going to hear his complete interview. It's an hour interview here, and I'm just grateful for his story. And I don't know if he's still in the Marines. He probably is out. He's in his early 40s now, early to mid 40s. Folks, it's been 20 years since Iraq, 22 years since the World Trade Center and the terrorist attacks on 9/11. So it's 20 years, it's enough time. Let's start listening to their stories, honoring and thanking them for their service. There's a lot of hurting Iraq and Afghanistan veterans around today, and I've met some of them, I've interviewed some of them, and Ryan really tells a tremendous story as a leader, as a squad leader, as a staff sergeant, and he's a decorated veteran from Iraq, and he's just a great man. He served with Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division, who were right there at Iraq's front door. He fought in Fallujah. We lost a lot of Marines in Fallujah. So I'm just happy to share this with you today. And his family, I read a quote from one of his kids back in 2009 where his mother was talking to him, Ryan's wife was talking to him about Daddy being deployed again, and the little boy said, do you know what they asked the question, do you know what deployment means? And he said, yeah, it means Daddy's not coming home or can't come home. He's helping people. So God bless him. 5 deployments. So I want to thank Daniel Stos. Daniel, God bless you. I'm going to salute you right now. Looking at this camera, Daniel has stepped forward and he's sponsoring several of my stories that are coming up. This is the first, and he has agreed to share this, help me to share this with you. And because of Daniel, you're able to see and to listen to this story on the YouTube channel and on my Voices of History radio station, KVOH Grand Junction. So okay, folks, I'm trying to keep this short, but my heart's full again today, and I really want you to listen to the story. You know, listening to Ryan talk, it's like I see Ryan over here, and I see Gunny Renstrom, Keith Renstrom from World War II, Iwo Jima. I see Ryan, I see Robert Grass, the Korean War. I see Ryan, and I see all of my veterans. And in between, you know, but Ryan was off the battlefields. This was 50, 60 years or more ago, and they're all pertinent. I've been a student of the history of warfare and you know, the different wars and the different types of wars we fought. And it's so different in Iraq than it was in World War II or even Korea. Vietnam, we started seeing that guerrilla type, terrorist type mentality, warfare creep in. But these men and women who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, incredible. So I salute Ryan for telling me his story. Okay, folks, if you'd like to sponsor one of these stories like Daniel has, I invite you to do so. There's information in the video description on my website, larrycapetto.com. There's a link that says sponsor a vet. Click on it. You'll see a bunch of pictures of my veterans. Include their name in the sponsorship and I'll do the rest. If you'd like to donate to this work, there's information in the comment section of this video. So I feel like I've forgotten something, but I just really implore and beseech you, it behoove you to watch Ryan's story. Let's honor these veterans too, folks. Let's don't set them aside. Their stories are just as pertinent as the World War II, the Korean, and the Vietnam stories. Like I said, it's taken me 20 years now to finally come forth, and I just released a trailer showing you what I'm going to be producing this year of War and Terror. It's going to be a great documentary of these men and some women that were in combat, folks, and it's just my tribute to them, honoring my Iraq vets right now, and we need to do so. They need to know that they are welcome to and appreciate it. So, all right, thank you for subscribing to this channel, sharing these videos, and listening to this longer introduction. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon. Probably the toughest question. I already asked you, how long you been in the Marine Corps? I didn't ask you that, did I?
Just been in, just hit my 6-year mark this month.
Do you remember where you were September 11th, 2001?
Exactly. I was on I was at SOI at a M203 grenade launcher range early morning. And I remember one of our instructors came by and he said, like a little random question, who here thinks you're never going to go to war anytime soon? And I just put my hands up, I said, I do. I was the only Marine who actually did that. And he said, you're wrong, because we're at war right now. And I was like, okay. Yep. And we didn't actually know what was going on until we turned the radio on, and we were still lost. So until we got a chance to go back and see what was going on, then we kind of figured it out.
Now, you weren't where were you at? I'm sorry, you were in training then or not?
I was in training, School of Infantry Training Battalion.
Where did you go to boot camp? Parris Island?
No, I went to boot camp at MCRD San Diego.
Okay. Do you remember your first day at boot camp?
To be honest with you, sir, I do not remember anything about boot camp.
Yeah?
I kind of like blocked it out. It's a blur. So.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm not kidding.
Really? Okay.
I don't remember anything about boot camp. I remember I used to get smoked a lot. That's about it. So.
Well, as far as the training, I mean, obviously it's preparing you for maybe someday being in a combat situation, and that's the focus of the mentality, I guess, or the physical training is the fact that you guys might be in combat someday. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
What I got from boot camp was, I think it was a mental preparation, because in most of what I say is just opinionated. I'm a very opinionated person. And boot camp for me wasn't hard physically. It was hard mentally. And even Monday we went on a run and we ran in circles for like 10 miles and the Marines just started walking. And I said, see, it's mental. It's not physical. So boot camp for me was just a mental, this is new. And I was from another country to this country. So, it was kind of like rough for me. That was the physical part was good. Thought it was good. Thought it was easy.
Tell me again, sir, the unit you're with here.
I'm with Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines.
And your MOS?
0311, sir.
Okay. Which is?
Basic rifleman.
Okay. How many tours have you gone overseas? A couple times, 3 times?
I've been overseas 3 times. I've been in Iraq once, and we spent about 9 months over there.
Was that during Fallujah?
That was Operation Phantom Fury, Fallujah, 2004.
Can you just give me a little history of what that was all about, the operation?
Pretty much it was to, as far as we're concerned, just take the city from the insurgents and give it back to the people the good people of the city. There were good people there, and the city just got taken over as hostage. And our mission was to just take the city back and give it to the people at all costs, which is what we did.
Was that a Marine operation? Was the Army involved with that?
It was a joint operation, joint forces.
Okay. And does Iraq have an army that were with you, their allies? I mean,
yes, we had detachments of, at the time, the newly formed Iraqi National Army, whatever they call them. But we had Iraqis with us.
Are they uniformed like you?
Negative.
No.
They had their own little chocolate chip uniform, but they were right beside us, side by side.
So Fallujah, is this like a capital of this? Is it a large city or?
Not as large as Baghdad, but it's a pretty densely populated city. It's a decent sized city. It's like dense. It's just the density of the city. I wouldn't say it's like that large of a city, but the way how the houses were close, and it was just like densely populated.
Is it like one of our big cities over here, comparable like, transportation, or is it more like a village type, what I'm saying, dirt roads and stuff like that?
Well, no, it was developed. Yeah. Had some nice houses there, very nice houses. It was a developed city.
What's a sheik? Is that like a mayor of an area?
Yes. Yeah. It would be like one of our, well, he wouldn't be a congressman. He would be like, because I'm not adept with American politics yet. I've only been here for so many years. Who would be our closest, like who would we go to if we have a problem here in Oceanside, or a councilman, if she could be a councilman.
Okay. When you first got to Iraq, was the country, what impressed you about the country? Was it hot at that time, or is it just the countryside? Is it a beautiful country, or is it war-torn, or what?
Oh, well, when I got to Iraq, we went straight to our fob, and all I saw was GP tents and just, trailers. And I was like, okay, just like the movies. It was desert, just all dirt, dust. It was hot when we got there. I don't remember the exact October. We got there about October. And it was pretty hot. And then it got brutally cold.
Right here.
Yes, brutally cold.
Does it snow over there? Do you guys get snow?
Well, to be honest with you, in the city, at one point, there was frost on the deck. And that probably meant that it was pretty cold. The ground there was just frost. And ice build up if you were staying outside on top of a roof or whatever. Ice would build up on your gear. So it got that cold. Never seen like snow or anything.
You personally like the cold, or you probably rather have warmer weather?
Well, I'm from Jamaica and I was stationed in Hawaii so
I'm more of a warm weather person myself, from Colorado, but take what you get, I guess. But now you're a sergeant in charge of a platoon, or?
My billet is a squad leader, but I'm at any given time have to be available to take over the platoon.
So how many men is that? 13 or?
For a squad?
Yeah.
About 13.
Yeah. So, but this was your first time, obviously, in a combat situation.
Yes.
Fallujah. And how much does the history of the Marine Corps have to do with maybe you as a Marine, or the combat that you experienced? I know there's a lot of pride in the tradition in the Marine Corps, but is that a significant role in maybe what you had to do, or is it just like it's different today being a Marine, or you carry a lot of that history with you into combat?
We carry all our history into combat.
And what aspect? What do you mean when you say that?
Basically, whatever it takes to get the mission accomplished at all costs, and we take that with us, which pretty much every unit prior to us in every climb and place had to do, so we know that we cannot fail, regardless of how dire the situation is.
Have you personally ever wondered what it would have been like to land at Iwo Jima,
Yes.
1945, and face the Japanese and everything that happened there, or in Korea, the Chinese?
Yeah, well, actually, my first taste of combat was prior to Fallujah. We did a raid somewhere out there, and I remember the tailgate of the track going down, and I kind of had a brief like, you know, moment where I was like, this must be what it felt like to jump off those Higgins boat on the beaches of Iwo Jima and get, you know. So that's what because we started taking contact prior to the hatch getting open. I was hoping that we didn't get a hail of gunfire through the hatch, so I kind of think about that. So.
That's amazing. That's an interesting analogy there. How would you define combat?
Oh boy, I never really thought about it. Defining combat is just a test of will and your, you know, and your mental state. How can you hold up and cope and react? Just a test of your will.
First time you were in combat personally, or maybe people were shooting at you or whatever the situation, is there a baptism under fire? I mean, do you feel invincible at all as far as nothing can happen to you and then you realize this could happen? I'm not sure the exact terminology, the fighter, or some type of acronym for it, but I mean, do you go through something like that when you're first under fire? How you're going to react? I mean,
well, for me as a squad leader at the time, I trained for 3 years, and all my Marines looked to me to lead them. It's easy to lead Marines in peacetime because all you do is pass word and train and get up here on a hike, or, you know, the basic stuff that anybody can do. Any civilian off the street can be like, get up here, Marine. It's the basic stuff. So I know in the back of my head that those Marines are going to look at me when the rounds start flying and see how I'm going to react. Now I'm thinking about, how am I going to react when the rounds actually start flying? So I already have a mental mindset. I already told myself that I'm going to go straight ahead regardless of what happens. They're going to follow me. So I was basically prepared to get killed. So it didn't matter. That's why you have to mentally prepare yourself. And I did that. I took 3 years to do it. So I was mentally ready to go.
what do you mean 3 years? Well,
I was lucky to get 3 years of like preparation. You know, some Marines just got out of boot camp and went to SOI and went straight to Iraq. I didn't do that. I went to Hawaii and I went to UN and I just trained for 3 years. So I was, all my tactical and technical skills, they were sharp. It's just the mental part, which you never know until you start getting shot at.
everybody reacts differently, I'm assuming, or
Yes.
how did your men do in situations like that?
They did pretty good. They were awesome. Yeah, I was impressed.
So what's the type of warfare in Fallujah? Was it conventional or was it,
Conventional from our perspective, but not from the enemy's. Pretty much guerrilla warfare.
did the enemy in Fallujah, were they uniformed or?
No, they were not.
So you're going from building to building or house to house basically, or are there a group of them and, you know, they fire on you, you fire upon them type of warfare, or?
There's different phases to the battle. So, I mean, you hit a couple of the topics, but it was at one phase, yes, it would be house to house. And then another phase would be them shooting at us, us shooting at them, and locating, closing, destroying them. It was different phases of the attack.
Is it like the old days where you have a machine gun on a tripod and you start shooting, you're throwing, lobbing hand grenades? I mean, nothing like that.
No, far from it.
Yeah.
Far from it.
How about any support that you had? Artillery, tanks? I mean, was there that available, obviously?
We had everything available to us. Everything.
Air?
We had everything in our arsenal. Air, artillery, fixed wing, rotary. We had, name it, you name it, we had it.
Forgive my ignorance with some of my questions, but can you tell me what an insurgent is?
Oh, that pretty much, well, this again is my opinion. The word insurgent, I never actually looked it up in a dictionary. Well, I just think it's, you know, a person who is not off official military, like a established military, just like a splinter cell, just doing his own thing. He's pretty much well trained. I know this for a fact because I fought them. They're not stupid. They're pretty smart, pretty tactically and technically proficient. But he's just driven by whatever cause he's fighting for. But that's just my opinion of an insurgent.
Well, that's an interesting thought. But what do you think those guys are fighting for?
I seriously don't know.
Do you think they value human life like we do?
That I don't know either. I really don't know.
You ever come face to face to them, or is it usually a distance or sporadic or sniper type fire?
Negative. I on numerous occasions actually like eye contact, face to face. It was yeah.
Is it like a kill or be killed situation, obviously in combat?
Yes.
I want you to realize something when I'm asking these questions. What I'm thinking of when I'm talking to you is, I have to be honest, I'm thinking of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. That's mainly what I've spent my time doing. So talking to you, it's a little different for me. But as I ask these questions, that's the only thing I have in my mind that I can really compare it to. So that's why.
No problem.
My reason. So, but
Simple.
it's interesting to just hear the similarities or the differences in what we're doing today. Okay. How do you keep the morale up, maybe, of your troops in combat? I mean, at times, is it just leading by example? What about the down times, or do you have to unwind after something a day? Or, I mean, how do you?
I can only speak of my I was only there for the assault on the city. There is no downtime. The only morale is just for me. I just led by example and just led from the front. You have to lead the Marines from the front. Let them see that, hey, you're clearing that house. You're going in first. You're rotating. Yeah. A good thing is, as I said, I can't speak of World War I, II, or Vietnam, whatever. In our case, I would try to rotate my point man because that's one of the worst jobs to have in an infantry squad. You're the first man in. Whatever is behind that door, you're probably gonna have to deal with it. And that was sapping the morale because of what was happening. And, I just, I threw myself in the mix. I'll be point man this time. And the Marines saw that and they were like, So that helped. There is really no downtime. The only downtime is, or the only way to keep the morale up is we know what we had to do. Finish the mission and go home. That was enough to keep the Marines' morale up. So.
Is there a strong sense of purpose of what we're doing over there? I mean, or at the time, as far as why we're there?
Oh yeah. There was definitely a strong sense of purpose.
So what is that purpose? I mean, it's an obvious answer.
Mission accomplishment. I'm a troop. I'm a sergeant in the Marine Corps Infantry. My purpose is to accomplish whatever mission that was given to us. We must execute. And as long as the mission has been stated, we have the commander's intent, we go ahead and execute. So that's our purpose.
How about, as far as, you weren't born in America, but still,
No.
I mean, so I might ask this question on behalf of some of the men that had, but in a time of combat, are you aware of what, like God and country, or are you fighting for survival?
We're fighting for survival. That's an honest opinion. That's not, that we're fighting for survival. We want to come home, Everybody just want to come home. So.
Now, you were born in Jamaica, you said?
Yes, I came here in 2001, at the age of 21.
That's when you joined the Corps?
Yes.
Your family still live down there?
Yes.
Okay. As far as, why we're there and what we're doing, what does freedom mean to you? How would you classify, or what would you say about freedom? And I'm talking along the lines of the United States, or even other countries in the world, and protecting what we have. Well, how would you define freedom, or what does freedom mean to you?
To me, that's an easy answer. Freedom to me is I get up on a Saturday morning, turn on the TV, I kick back, I have some tea, and I watch soccer. Knowing that everything is good. I'm not worried about I'm just not worried about anything. I'm good. Must be because I live on the base. I don't know. I just feel safe, free. That's just in my opinion of freedom. Me getting up in the morning on a weekend and just chilling with my son, watching soccer, you know, just going to Chuck E. Cheese, you know. That's just good for me.
What about the price for freedom? What would you tell a young person today about the price for freedom? Somebody who doesn't realize what they have or why they have it and takes it for granted.
Well, that now, oh boy, that's such a cliche. You know, freedom isn't free. I would try not to tell a young person that. You know, I would tell that person just to just enjoy what you have. You know, it can be enjoy what you have. It can be here and today and gone tomorrow. Don't I'm sure, like, when you say young, at what age group? I mean, like, the little kids, they really don't know what's going on.
High school.
A high school kid, okay, those poor kids, You know, what they're focusing on their education right now. And I would try not to burden them with what's going on in the world and, with the price we're paying. Just go to school, get your education, and just do what you have to do. Don't worry about what's going on. People like us, that's what we're here for. Just don't worry about it. I would tell a person not to, just don't worry about it. We got it.
Having been in combat, I mean, again, talking to like Lewis or those who served 40, 50, 60 years ago, a lot of them have never talked about what happened in war and combat. For the first time, when I sit down with them, it could be the first time they're telling me things. A lot of Vietnam vets have felt better after talking about it. I know a lot of combat veterans would prefer to talk to another veteran. How do you feel about that, what you went through? I mean, is it something that obviously you're not going to volunteer to talk about, and I'm not after that necessarily today, but just the raw aspects of combat. Is that something that you've talked about since you've been there, or you just hold it inside, or?
Well, it's pretty raw. It's, I don't think words, you will have to serve and have been in some serious situations to actually relate to. Have I spoken about it? Not really. I try to put it in the back of my head, and I really haven't spoken about it. It was pretty rough, but it's my job. It's kind of sad, but it's my job. I just don't know anything. I just don't know any better.
Has it changed you as a person, or the Marine Corps, the training, the combat? I mean, has it changed you?
Well, my experience in combat?
Yeah, just
As
a person.
Yes.
How?
I never usually take things for granted, but it changed me in a way that I've always known life was fragile, but I didn't really know exactly how. It's just, you're looking at this guy like a minute ago, and then he's gone. You're like, like you didn't have, I don't know. It has changed me in like a lot of ways. Like, wow. I take things so much more seriously. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because when I do get out of the Marine Corps, I'm really not going to need to take a lot of things seriously. But it changed me in a way that I really take a lot of things much more seriously than I used to. Every aspect of life in the Marine Corps for me revolves around me going back to war, me going back to combat, and the Marines around me. I try to relate everything. Like, why are you here, and why is your weapon over there? What if you were in the combat zone? Would your weapon be over there and you're over here? Probably not. Why is your Kevlar on? Why is your Kevlar off and your flak off and you're just chilling like this? And we're in the field. If we were in, it's just, would you take it off if you're in combat? The poor Marine don't know, because he's a PFC, never been in combat. He's like, his natural reaction is going to be, no, Sergeant. But does he really know? No. And I'm trying to let him know. Giving him the answer, I'm just trying to prepare him. If you're not going to do it over there, practice to not do it here, and you'll be better off when you go over there. So combat has changed me in terms of the Marine Corps. Life in the Marine Corps is like, everything I do after what happened to me over there, or what I've seen happen over there, it's like related around combat. And when I get out, I hope I won't try to carry it over to the civilian world, because I'm probably just not going to make a lot of friends.
Is there a situation you can kind of walk me through a little bit as far as one of the firefights or something that you experienced? Maybe you lost somebody in under your command, or a friend or somebody, or just the combat itself. I mean, if we're walking down the street with you, what are we seeing? I mean, what's happening at this point? You know, you mentioned the analogy about the Higgins bullet, you know, a situation like that, but is there a certain event that maybe was more difficult in Fallujah than others?
Um, yes. Marine Corps birthday, November 10th, 2004. Couldn't forget that day, of course. So, you know, we were just on the attack. Just, you know, we knew exactly where we were going. We knew exactly what we were doing. We were just on the attack. We're doing good because we're moving, we're covering ground. We really haven't lost anybody yet. So we're very confident. As a matter of fact, this is where we actually we never felt invincible, but we felt like a well-oiled machine. And we actually thought that, yeah, we're going to get away unscathed, because we're just moving. We're hitting our objectives, timely manner. We're just getting it done. And we're confident now. We're moving. And then, you know, it had to happen, and it did. And, you know, I just remember one of my, we held up waiting for the rest of our unit to come online. We held up in a house, and we started taking sniper fire. One of the squad leaders, second squad leader, he did anything a Marine would do, take the initiative, and he just took off to go ahead and flank that position where we're getting the sniper fires from. And, you know, he took off, and like 5 minutes after, we heard just like, you could hear it, just AKs, this gun, just like a kill house, just like guns going off. You know, typical firefight, because at that point, we've been through a couple at the time. Then we get a call saying we got Marines down. We need to come help. So me, I'm not thinking about anything. My natural reaction is to let's go. You're not going to think, because split seconds are an eternity, and people get killed in that time frame. So I at the time, my squad was a little bit slow to react. I took off when I heard Marines down, the first response was to grab my corpsman, because he needs to be with me to go help them. We take off running, me not really assessing the situation, because I'm just trying to get to the Marines that, I'm going to where the gunshots were coming from. I'm listening where the screams were coming from, and we started taking fire, and natural reaction was just to return fire and try to head for cover as quick as I could with my corpsman. I'm dragging my corpsman with me, shooting at the same time, and we made it over the wall. I had to dive over a wall just to make it in time, and we made it, didn't get hit, whatever. And it was just, I went over there, and the first thing I saw was just like two of my friends just laid up, just crying, just blood everywhere, just blood everywhere. And I was like, oh. And my natural reaction was I patch him up, and I tried to assess the situation, what's going on, but it was like whatever happened, for some strange reason, the squad just got split up all over the place. And I heard one of my Marines on the second deck screaming. He was in bad, sounded like it. I never saw him until the whole thing was over, and he was in pretty bad shape. And my squad eventually came. They came in time, and I was like, all right, let's go. As soon as my initial response, we kind of lost comm with what was going on. There were radios, freaks couldn't get through the buildings or whatever, and totally, I knew that there was a Marine on it. I knew that Pickering was on that second deck, and we were going to get him. And so I stacked my Marines on the wall, and was like, go. As soon as we took off, these guys were just waiting for us, and they just started going to town on us. Rounds flying everywhere, and the stack broke, and everything just went bad right there, because they already had the upper hand, because they were barricaded upstairs, and it was like, shooting fish in a barrel, they're shooting at us. And so we just did what we had to do. Squad got broke up. Everything started going bad. We lost comm. It was not good. There's two Marines laid up, bleeding out, bleeding to death. And I'm like, ouch. So I'm like, we're just trying to get to Pickering. At this point now, I know that it's going to be pretty rough. I realized that Pickering was at their mercy, because he got cut off and he was upstairs, but he was still crying out for help. And I heard him saying, I heard him just moaning up there, and then after a while I heard a single shot, and then I didn't hear him again. And after 2 more attempts of trying to get up the stairs, we lost 2 more Marines, and I'm like, it's done. We just can't get up the stairs. And I told my lieutenant that we just can't get up the stairs. We need to evac and destroy the house with the insurgents and get out, cut our losses, and go back for the bodies. Because at that point, I kind of figured that Pickering was dead. Because we were talking. I was like, you all right, Pick? And he's like, you could hear him, moaning. And after a while, I just didn't hear anything. I heard that shot, and I clicked in my head that they took him out. Pick's gone. And we tried going up there twice, and 2 more Marines got capped. So I'm like, nah. I made a judgment call and told my lieutenant, I was like, sir, let's get out of here and do what we have to do with this house. We'll come back and get the body because we're not going to leave the body. And in that attempt, now what happened was the squad got split. They cut off all escape routes through that house. It was a pretty huge house. It was like a posh house, not a nice little mansion. They cut off all the avenues of approach and every way you could escape. The only way out was to punch a hole through a wall we were in, a room we were in, just find a way to punch a hole through that wall. We didn't have the equipment with us, or if we did have the equipment, we couldn't use it because it was demo. We couldn't we couldn't explode any demo in the house because we have 2 Marines laid up and they're bleeding out. So there was these dozers called D9s. The Israelis use them, and we had them with us. And I could see him, and I told him to I couldn't talk to him, but I could see him, and I went like this. Because that's like the universal hand arm signal to punch a hole or break this wall down. And he was like, I remember him going like this. Like, give me a thumbs up. And that was like, oh yeah, we're good now. My brilliant idea. And one of my Marines got hit. And one of my other Marines, a saw gunner, that's one of our machine gunners, he came out and he started engaging the insurgents because they were using that to they were going to pick him off. And I remember Corporal Kane going out there and started lighting him up. And at the time, a grenade came, they were upstairs, and there's just no way you're going to win if they're upstairs. That's just the reality of it. Urban warfare, you're going to lose. Threw the grenade, they started throwing grenades downstairs. We started throwing it back upstairs, and it was just rolling back down. The grenades were going off. People were just trying to hide from shrapnel, and here comes the dozer. Dozer hits the wall, and as soon as I look up, Corporal Kane is stuck between the hatch, shooting still, but he doesn't realize that that deck is going to just collapse on them. That house is going to fall on top of us. And the dozer dude just doing his thing, just busting a hole through the wall. The house just caves in. And at that point, I saw the beam, the top beam, it was going to fall. I could see it, and I reached over, but Kane was just shooting at them, and they were shooting at us. And as soon as I grabbed his flak and I tried to pull him, he went like this, and the beam just came down and just snapped him. And he was snapped between the beam. And his femur was just caught, and they were still shooting, and I had no choice but to go down there. I thought I was going to get shot in the head because it was a doorway, and I just had to go down there and get him. Tried pulling him, and the pull I pulled him so hard that his femur just came out. His femur bone just came out through his legs. And there was just blood everywhere and screaming. On top of the other 3 Marines back there screaming, and everything was just not going good. It was absolutely the worst day of my life. And I had to give him morphine once. He asked for more. It wasn't working. I gave him twice. He asked for more morphine, and I just couldn't give him any more morphine because we're trained. Just don't give him any more than 2, or it's going to slow his heart rate down. He's going to die. And I said, all right, Kane, I just can't give you any more. You're just going to have to suck it up. And he sucked it up, but he was just bleeding. There was just blood everywhere. So there was a hole there was a hole though. I mean, the idea kind of worked, but kind of had repercussions. The hole was there, so we rolled him up in a poncho and we dragged him out. We dragged all the other Marines out, and we just went to town on the house. And we went back and we dug up the body, and we found Pickering. And it was just, when he thought it was over, it wasn't even over. As soon as we dug the body up, we started digging for the body. We started taking more sniper fire and machine gun fire from right across the other way. So I had to run across the road to suppress that house with 4 of my Marines in order for our small gunners, these are the guys who fire rockets, to take that building out. So we were basically in the middle of the street shooting at them, and they're shooting at us, and we're just hoping not to get shot. Rounds ricocheting all over us. At that point, you don't care, because you already saw half of your squad got wiped out. And we took the building out, and at that point there was definitely a no in the firefight because we had taken way too many casualties from one platoon, so they had to hold up. And that's where I just sat on the wall and just started thinking like, damn, what do we do next? And I was there. It seemed like an eternity. It seemed like everything just went in slow motion. I remember them taking the bodies out, throwing it in the back of the truck, and it was just slow motion. Just at that point, I was just sitting there just. And I even I did the same thing I told you. Why are you taking your Kevlar off? Would you do that in the combat zone? And I remember taking my Kevlar off and going like this. I had my Kevlar off in the middle of a combat zone. I just took it off and I was like, I can't believe that just happened to us. And I remember Corporal Moore saying, I can't believe we just got destroyed by 2 insurgents in a house with a machine gun and a sniper rifle, a Marine Corps rifle squad, a goddamn Marine Corps rifle squad. That happened to us. And he was, our pride was damaged badly. That wasn't supposed to happen. That just was not supposed to happen. And Moore took that to his grave with him. Because Moore eventually got killed too. So that was, and it even got worse, but I prefer to stop here.
That's fine.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, war is hell.
That's what I say too. That's what I say.
You know, now it's been, you know, a little bit of time's elapsed past that, but I don't know how you would ever get over something like that. You probably can get through it, but you know, now that you're back here, when you come back from a situation like that, is it hard to transition back into, I'm not going to say civilian life, but you're still on a base, but is it hard to maybe be around people, or for a time, is there a period of time maybe you go through a readjustment to come back from a combat situation?
This is the catch. For me, when I was growing up, I just never really, you would, some people call it antisocial. I was always just like all by myself. So me coming back we went on a mule. We had to sail on a ship over there. We came back on a ship. My adjustment period started when I went back to my berthing area, and there was like 6 of us in the berthing area, and 30-something of us took off in that same berthing area. And it was empty. It was 6. It went from 30 to 6. And we had to just like sit there for like a month and a half sailing back, thinking about stuff. So my readjustment period started there, you know. And for me, I just don't have a lot of friends. I just don't have, really don't have any friends. You know, I'm not a party guy. I don't go out and party or anything. So for me, it was, nobody would know if I didn't tell them. If I didn't say, yeah, I'm readjusting right now, you know. Let me be by myself. I'm just always like that. So nobody ever thought that, you know. That's just for a typical person who knows me. That's just Ryan being Ryan.
How old's your son?
Yeah, just turned 3 this year.
Okay, so he's pretty young.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah. How's your family? I mean, as far as what you're doing, are they pretty supportive of you?
I'm not really family orientated either. That's why I joined the Marine Corps. Perfect for me.
So this is your family?
Yes.
Yeah. That's good. Tell me, it's an obvious answer, but I want to hear it from you. Tell me about the camaraderie of the Marine Corps.
Oh, oh man, like, I'll give you a simple example. One of my neighbor, he's at school right now. As I said, I'm not really like a people person, like my neighbors, I know him. Hey, what's going on, Brian? What's up? You know, like that. I'm not gonna go over his house and eat a steak at his barbecue. He's always cooking out, or he's always inviting me over there, but I'm always doing something else, and you know, I'm not. But he's just my neighbor, and I'm, you know. So his wife he's at school in North Carolina right now, and I heard the doorbell ring the other night. I came off. We were in the field, and I got off at like 22, and I just got home, and I heard the doorbell ring, and his wife was outside, and she's like, "Do you have any Pedialyte?" Because he has a 9-month-old son. Yes, yeah, Isaiah. He has a 9-month-old, and I'm like, "No, we don't have any Pedialyte." And I was like, "What's up?" And she's like, "Isaiah's sick, and he's puking, he's dehydrated, and whatever." I'm like, let me call and see if Tanya, that's like my son's godmother. She lives right around the road from us. I'm like, you have any Pedialyte? And she's like, no, because she has 2 bigger kids. So I'm like, all right, just sit down. And I wasn't even out of uniform yet. I'm not supposed to go anywhere in uniform. But I like left. I jumped in my car and I just left. Like, this is like 2300 at night. Went to Walgreens or Vons. They were closed. And I was like, is there anywhere I can find Pedialyte? You know, my son's sick. And they're like, go to Stater Brothers in El Camino Real or something like that. Is it El Camino Real? So I drove out there and I was like, oh, they're open, you know. So I run into Stater Brothers, take the liquid Pedialyte, and I take the popsicle Pedialyte, and I'm like, oh, just got to work. Either, you know, he's a little baby, so whichever one works. And I like race back, and I was like, I got it right here. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. How much do I owe you? And I'm like, nothing. Just make sure he gets it or whatever. And she kept saying, how much do I owe you? And thank you. I'm like, to me, I'm like, aren't we supposed to do that? So because I know that all right, I'm moving, and instead of me getting a truck for $150 down payment or whatever, my Marines are gonna be like, no, don't do that, man. We're gonna, as soon as you get off work today, we're just gonna start coming over. And we've been in the field for a while. They have trucks. They're like 2, 3 of them have flatbed trucks. So they're gonna come over after work and like help it. I'm like, gas money or whatever. They're like, no, you're not even supposed to say that to them. You're not supposed to offer a Marine gas money to come pick you up. He's supposed to do it, correct? That Marine's supposed to just do it for you. It's like, you're not obligated to do it, but it's like ingrained in you. You're supposed to help that Marine or help that Marine's family regardless, and you're not supposed to take anything in return. It's not a favor. You're supposed to do it. So that's what I've seen in the Marine Corps when it comes to camaraderie. And that same camaraderie just translates into like everyday life.
And in combat,
It's even like worse. It's crazy. You see people just go out there and take a bullet for somebody, and I'm like, Christ, your brother wouldn't even do that for you. It's true. That's why I was like, I don't think my brother would do that for me. People just going out there, putting it on the line, and just letting it rip.
Now, Fallujah was your second tour.
Well, actually, in Iraq, because I've been deployed a lot of times, but
You've gone since Fallujah.
I'm about to go now.
Okay. Well, have you been back since the?
No, I have not been back to Iraq.
Okay. Well, then my question may not be appropriate, but I can ask it like this: How did what happened in Fallujah prepare you for your coming deployment?
The fear of the unknown is no more in the fog of war for me. I know I've been in one of the worst battles we've fought in years as Americans. I don't think anything else can be worse than that. So when I go back, it's going to be like, okay, what's next? I just need to prepare my Marines. And I can do this by telling them everything I know.
Do you tell them war stories? Or
no, I do not.
What do you tell them?
I tell them situations. I give them a scenario. That scenario is actually from, what would you do if you were told to attack a house with 11 insurgents in it that you counted going in there the day prior to? Options are, would you suppress? Would you call for fire? Would you just take your squad and go clear it? And I give them situations like that. The sad part is we had to take our squad and clear it in real life, and it wasn't pretty either. Or platoon, actually.
I know there's a lot of pride with the Marine Corps, but I mean, we're human beings too. So, would one of your men ever ask a question like, "Well, Sarge, what's it really like to be shot at?"
Yeah, they do that. Marines do that all the time.
Okay.
I just tell them it's a reaction. You're going to react. It's like, was that for me? If it wasn't for you, obviously you're good. Because you're in combat rounds. You hear these rounds going by your... It sounds weird. It's like, you watch The Matrix? Keanu Reeves dodging the bullets or whatever. It's, okay, there it is. You can't see it. At night you can actually see it because there are like tracers flying past you and you're like, how did any of those bullets not catch me? So if you're moving, and those bullets are flying past you, you're like, okay, well, it's probably not my time. And you just keep going. But if you try to cheat death, you're just going to die. So just go with it. If it's your time, it's your time. That's what I figured out. That's what I've learned.
Do you ever think about Pickering or Moore? What are your thoughts when you think about these guys?
Well, there's a flag in my house with it's like a memorial wall. And it's funny how my wife wants me to take it down, but I just can't take it down. She says sometimes she catches me staring off into space. I just can't help but look at that wall. I can't help. There's a flag just framed on my wall. It's like my showpiece. I paid $500 of my hard-earned money to get it done because I said that that's the only way I'm going to be able to keep them, just keep them alive somewhat. And, that's how I remember them. And I can't forget them. And I can't forget them. You can't forget them. There's a bunch of them on that wall right there. So it's like they're just there with me. I like to think that they're good guys. They're really good guys. They're just regular people. I don't forget them. I can't. There's no way you could forget them anyways.
Were you ever able, or in a position where you had to administer first aid in any of your time over there? I mean, with casualties. You're trained obviously to do that. So, is that an instinct? Is that again? Is it a reassurance to the wounded person they're going to be okay? Get them evacuated? What's happening during all this?
They know they're going to get evacuated. Matter of fact, they're thinking about Germany. As soon as they get hit, they're just thinking about Germany and ice cream, and that's all they're thinking about. Ramstein. They know they're going to get out. They're done. They're out of the fight. They know we're not. They know that they're not going to. Whatever has happened to them, that's it. They're not going to suffer any more hurt. They're out. They just chill. They just stay there and we just take care of them.
You don't think they would want to come back and be with their unit?
Some guys did it, and some guys ended up getting killed. So, a bunch of guys did. A bunch of guys got shot in the butt. Fingers got shot off, shot in the foot, but they could still fight. They went back to the surgical, got patched up, came back out, got killed. And they had the option to go just sit back there. So you don't want to be a Marine I wouldn't say, if I got my finger shot off, I could hardly call that minor injury because it looks pretty gruesome when somebody's finger just... And it's just in your instincts, you don't want to stay there while Marines are out there getting killed in the city. You just... It's one of those things, I don't know if we're brainwashed, but it's just one of those things. You have to go back. I don't know how it works. I don't know. Just one of those things. As a Marine, you just can't sit knowing that, you see the body bags coming in, you hear the stories, and you're just like, I could really be out there. I don't know what pain they're feeling, but I just seen a bunch of them come back. People got shot in the butt, shot in the foot, shot in the toe, finger shot off, shot in the arm. Then they just came back, and they fought. Most of them got killed. It's like they got their chance out. They got their way out. That was their ticket out. And they came back. Totally optional. Because the first thing they want to do is fly you straight to Germany. They want to get you out of the country. So the option is like serious injuries, like, people getting their legs blown off and stuff like that, and getting some serious shrapnel and gunshot wounds. They have no choice. It's not their choice. But the guys who got patched up, it's their choice. You can go out there or you can just stay here, and 9 times out of 10, if they're not mentally messed up, they're going to come back out there just to be around the Marines. And
did that take a toll on some of your men? Maybe the mental part?
Not that I know of. It was normal. Maybe it's taking a toll now. I don't know. To be honest, I really have only been in contact with one of my Marines. He's my first team leader, Corporal Hernan, and he's all right. I don't know if it took a toll on him. Not then and there while we were in combat.
Are you married?
Yes, I'm married.
Does your wife ever ask questions?
No. So.
That's normal. Not to. So you're going back, man. Well, we need to be praying for you.
Yes.
Are you a religious person? Do you have faith in God? Does that get you through some of the hard times, or?
Yes. As I said, everything I say, most of what I say is opinionated. I just think that life is like a little movie. Your script's already written. You just need to live it. And when your time is up, your time is up. Don't even regret about it. It's over. And if you die slow, you actually have a chance to think about it. If you die fast, if you get a bullet to the head and bam, you're done. You're just done. You didn't have a chance to think about it. I don't know what happens after death because, I'm alive, but I would think that whatever happens after death takes place, and, that's that. But while you're alive, just live, and don't try to cheat death. Don't try to just live. Let the script take its course, and when it's your time, it's your time. It's over. So that's an opinion. That's good.
That's good. I guess just a follow-up to that is, I've talked to a lot of veterans. A lot of people have been in combat, but is it just the training that gets you through the tough times, or is it your faith, somebody's faith?
Without the training, you're probably a dead man walking anyways. So it's probably, I want an opinion again, 80% training, and then the rest is just faith. That's my opinion.
Do you have like chaplains around that would be out
A lot.
there?
Yeah, a lot. They come out there. They want to be out there. And they come around and they give us candy, tell us little funny jokes.
You ever seen them give last strikes?
Yes. And that part sucks.
Wow. I think we're about done.
We're done?
I think this is, you got anything else maybe that you maybe wanted to share? I'm really just after the personal side of what happens, in combat, not the blood and guts, although, at times it gets like that, but really just how it changes, and it does. I mean, there's a change,
Oh yeah, it makes you more grateful for everything. It makes you take every day as like, no matter how bad it gets, like the other day, like my Marines complain, well, we got to work so late. Well, we don't get chow when we're supposed to get chow. Like, all right. Relax. I'm happy. I just laugh. When we're working till 2300, I just look at them and I laugh. I look at their little faces. I'm like, look at them. They're just suffering right now. They don't know how bad it can actually get. And then I bring it in and I tell them how bad it can actually get. And they're like, oh. And it's back to normal. But they're still going to complain because this is what Marines do. Just got to get the libo and the chow, so you can't really, no combat story or no story you can tell them is going to put them at ease. They want their chow. They want their libo. But for that time, at least in the back of their head, they know, you know what, it could always be worse. So for me, after combat, I mean, everything is good. No matter, I'm here, very fortunate to be here. And I think I'm actually on borrowed time. So I'm just going to live it till my script, my script's over, it's done. So
Let's go back in time for a moment. I'm going to role play with you here. It's February 19th, 1945.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a Higgins boat with the 28th Regiment, 5th Marine Division. You're getting ready to land on Iwo Jima. What's going through your head?
Let's get this done. How am I going to react when the first round flies past my head? Am I going to freeze or am I going to just squeeze rounds downrange and move? And am I going to be the one to be hiding behind the other one? Or am I going to be the one in front? I want to be the one in front. Because I always said it this way. If I'm going to go out, I want to go out the right way. Like a grunt in a firefight. Not the one curl up in a ball, screaming and crying. I would hate to go out like that. So that one of those Marines are going to survive. And they're going to be like, yeah, I remember Sergeant Gray. That counts for anything, but I just want to go out the right way. That's what I'm thinking about. Am I going to react the right way? And God forbid if I don't react the right way. I mean, that would suck. Because those Marines are just going to remember that sad image of me curling up into a ball. Don't want that to happen.
Well, you probably know the history of Iwo Jima. When they landed, nothing was really happening for the first hour, and then everything...
They started advancing, and then...
All the mortars, everything from Suribachi started opening. Can you ever imagine yourself being on that beach and all that, and how you'd react? Probably what you just said. I mean, you'd have your men and sitting ducks out there, basically, on that island. But I've never done this with anybody. You're the first one, so I'm just thinking what you've told me is very inspiring. But raising that flag on Mount Suribachi, just the men that went up there and did that, and the pride in that. One of my questions in an interview, now I'll ask you, as far as the American flag and being a Marine, what does the American flag mean to you?
Basically, to me, that's in my opinion, again, that's just a symbol of freedom right there. When that flag went up, that means that we're one step closer to ending the war, which was saving the world from total domination from, a certain person with his evil intents. So, step by step, when they raise that flag there, they raise another flag throughout the whole atolls. I mean, that was just freedom, So that's just my opinion. That flag represents freedom to me.
Do you see any difference in the enemy we're fighting today versus the mentality of Adolf Hitler, the Germans, the Nazis, the Japanese, the Chinese in Korea, the Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese army? Do you see any difference in maybe the mentality of an enemy towards the United States?
Oh.
Or is this terrorism thing worse? I mean, is it all kind of the same? Or?
Well, in my opinion, I think terrorism is worse because at least you got to give it to those those were established armies, and they had their beliefs. They believed that they were actually fighting for something too, that legit for their people, the Nazis. I mean, they were kind of brainwashed to a certain extent that they actually thought they were freeing the world. In their own mind, they thought they were freeing the world. The way the world was supposed to be ran was by them, the Nazis. The Japanese, the same thing. The terrorists, like almost the same thing, but there are no front lines. It's here. At least in World War II, you were gonna get on your ships and go over there, and it's on. They were gonna meet you halfway. You're gonna fight on Iwo Jima, fight in Guadalcanal, and there was a battlefield. And but there are no lines drawn. There are no front lines. There are no left and right lateral limits. It's just here. And the enemy's ugly. Sometimes the wrong people die too. Back in the day, I mean, when you were on Iwo Jima, you were either going to kill the enemy or you were going to get killed. The enemy was going to kill you. And, it probably didn't play on your mind back then, because, it's kill or be killed, and you're killing the enemy, and the enemy knows he's going to kill you. It's either or either. But now, I mean, so many innocent people died. That's the part that sucks most about this war.
Is there a Marine in history that you maybe look up to or is a hero to you?
Oh, that would definitely be Chesty Puller, Lieutenant General Chesty Puller.
Well, why is he an inspiration, or what did he do that?
Well, he was, the things he did, especially for the enlisted Marine, was pretty cool. He actually, valued, the private, the lance corporal, the corporal. He actually cared. And he just led regardless. Whatever the mission was, he's kind of like, well, I kind of think I'm kind of like Chesty, not that great though, but it's all about accomplishing the mission at all costs. I mean, for me, maybe the cost is not as great, but he has to put yourself in his shoes. I mean, when a Marine dies, like at Peleliu, we got messed up at Peleliu. He has to live with that for the rest of his life, and he took it very personal. So his decisions, thousands of Marines can get killed, and he has to live with that. But he has to get up again and carry on and go attack another island in the atolls. So. One more question. Tell me about some of the good things that are happening over there, or when you were there that you saw. Because a lot bad happened, but as far as the American public is being fed, the perception I think a lot of times is negative. But I've heard a lot of Marines this week talk about some good things. Were there any good humanitarian things or public service or community service type things that you guys were involved with, or was it just all combat for you? It was all combat. Okay. So, but that was good because we liberated the city. They got their city back. I know those people wanted their city. You could see it in their faces when they moved back in. The city was, they got it back. So just expound just a bit. They got it back. You saw it in their faces. Explain that. Was that a process of time, a one-day event, or were you around that when all that happened? We were around when we opened this. We reopened the city, so I was around for that. Was it a celebration of any sorts, or just pats on the back, or thank yous, or what was going on? Just a lot of handshakes and just thanks. Thanks. Time to rebuild and not really worry about. The city was literally held hostage. So I could just imagine. But when they came back in and saw troops, more troops than insurgents, you could definitely tell that, they felt a little bit better because we live by rules and regulations, and our actions, we have to restrain ourselves, and they know that we're not going to walk around and chop their heads off just cause, which was happening. They were you could tell that they felt free. Are you familiar with the Geneva Convention? Yes. Is that something on the back of our... They still teach, or is that... Yeah, it's like, even on our IDs and stuff, it tells you what category you are, and it's pretty much the rules we abide by. We have no choice. We have to abide by those rules. I'm talking about the enemy today, that there's probably no such rule for them. They... No. The terrorists, I'm sure they know the Geneva Conventions, but they know the rules and everything, but they don't care. They know it because they use it against us. They know that we can't do what they do, so they're going to go all out and get us.
How important are the Navy corpsmen in a combat situation?
Oh, they're key. You look around, you see the corpsman, you kind of like, okay, the corpsman's here. If I get shot, he's gonna patch me up, I'm good. You're not really worried about getting shot. You think that corpsman's gonna save you, so that's good.
How was a wounded Marine evacuated?
In the city, we would just get him to a secured area, a casualty collection point, which could be anywhere, any room, any house. Call in for our trackers and our AM trackers would come in, and we just put them in there, and they would just take off, and then we just take them straight back to the Camp Fallujah. They assess them there. If they need to go to Germany, they send them to Germany, and from Germany to Maryland.
Any battalion aid stations or field hospital type makeshift things like that, or is it just...
Yes, there was one right outside the city, a secured area. Well, yeah, a secured area.
They ever medevac with a helicopter?
Not in the city.
Well, we're done. This is a very enlightening interview. Thank you for your time and your sincerity and your openness. I want to thank you for that.